So for this Mother's Day cake, we're caking vegetables. We actually got a lot of letters and comments from angry vegetables. Like, why are you caking a strawberry? How come you're caking a watermelon? How come pineapple? I've given a lot of love to fruit on this channel. I caked a life-size carrot, a life-size beet, and I want to say a life-size radish, but the radish is a bit large. It's like my prize radish that I grew. For the radish cake, I have baked a vanilla cake, pretty high cake that I could carve a radish out of. For the beet cake, I dyed my batter. So I always get nervous when I'm dyeing batter because you add the color at the end because I'm trying to get very specific. But if you stir it too much, you're gonna deflate the batter and you're gonna overwork the eggs. So you've gotta be careful. And I was really happy with the color when it was raw. But when it was baked, it was beet. It was so beety. For the carrot, we baked just a round 8-inch carrot cake. So I level my beet spheres before removing them from their pans. And for all the other cakes, I remove them from their pans. I level the carrot cake. The radish cake, I'm just gonna dive in and carve as is because I'm basically gonna try and get a round shape out of this square. What I love about vegetables is you can't really go wrong. So don't make fun of me when I say this, Orhan. This is a good beginner cake.
Beginner.
One of these, one of these. You don't have to make all three. Just pick one. The shapes are very forgiving. For the beet, same idea. You're gonna hold the 2 half spheres together, carve away.
I wonder if there's anyone out there whose like favorite thing in life is beet or like radish.
I love beets.
Me too.
Imagine being out and being like, oh man, I could use a radish. If you've ever said that, leave a comment below. We'd like to meet you. And then for the carrot, we're gonna use some circle cutters. I cut out like about 9 circles, 3 of one size, 3 a little smaller, 3 a little smaller. So I'm gonna sort of hold the 3 layers together, start carving, add another 3, start carving until I'm happy with the shape of the carrot. And then obviously I'll stack these all together on their side and start to shape the carrot. And I've never met a vegetable I don't like, but I have met a fruit I don't like.
What is the pears?
Prickly pears. Don't like them. It's kind of mushy and I don't care for it. The radish is not that big, so I'm not gonna cut any more layers. I did cut it in half once, so there's 1 layer of filling. When it comes to the beet, it already was 2 layers because it was 2 half spheres, but I'm gonna cut another layer out of each half, so this will have 3 layers of filling inside. And then for the carrot, we of course are going to use buttercream to sandwich all these circles together. So there'll be a lot of layers of filling in the carrot. So it's time to simple syrup all the cakes. Always essential. And once the simple syrup has soaked in, I'm going to fill these cakes and crumb coat them.
So no carrot juice, simple syrup?
No, I didn't make beet juice simple syrup. I didn't make radish juice simple syrup, no. For the radish, I'm going to spread a nice even layer of Italian meringue buttercream between the 2 layers, sandwich them together, and now I need to crumb coat. For the beet, I've decided to fill these layers with chocolate ganache. It's just sort of like a good idea, and I wanted to keep it dark inside. So I fill all 3 layers with chocolate ganache, sandwich the beet together, and then I'm also going to crumb coat this cake with chocolate ganache. For the carrot, I have all the tiny layers, so I'm going to ice on a little pat of buttercream on top of each one and sandwich the carrot together and crumb coat. Unlike the other 2, the beet and the radish, I could pick them up in my hand. I can't do that with the carrot. So I focused on crumb coating everything I could, and I'll crumb coat underneath the carrot once this has been chilled. Now I can ice all 3 cakes. I'm icing them with whatever I crumb coated them with. So I'm going to ice the radish with Italian meringue buttercream, and I am using my invention to keep it nice and smooth. I'm going to ice the beet with chocolate ganache, and then I'm going to ice the carrot with Italian meringue buttercream. I wanted to show you how to color fondant. I wanted to show you how to color fondant in this episode, and that's the beauty of these cakes not being giant. You know what I mean? I had the time to show you. So what I tend to do is take stock of all the fondant I have, and if I have any pre-made colors that fall into that zone that I can then blend together or add to and build up on to get the color that I'm looking for. I used burgundy, I used purple, I used a bit of red, just playing with the tones. And the good news is I had the real vegetables by my side, so that really helps.
Beet color is really beautiful.
So do I.
Yeah, it's like a really...
It's beautiful. Radishes are surprisingly vibrant. It's quite a vibrant red. It's almost hot, like, I don't want to say hot pink, but there's a pinky tone to the red, and it's a very vibrant red. Way more, it's punchy, like its flavor. Carrot's kind of the easiest color. It's orange, but not Halloween orange. It should look a lot more natural than that. So you want it to veer sort of on the yellow side. And like I said, the whole time I had my real vegetables on hand so I could just compare, and Shuchi compared through camera. Okay, so it's time to cover these cakes. I'm super excited because I don't have to roll giant slabs of fondant. The radish, I'm gonna roll out this beautiful, vibrant red, roll it nice and thin. Well, it obviously can't be as thin as a radish skin because I wouldn't even be able to pick it up. And then I'm going to drape it over the radish. I can't believe how easy it was to just cover these cakes because they're so small. I was just smoothing the fondant. I flipped the radish over onto my trusty little pink sponge that you've seen me use many times. And then I'm going to just fold the excess fondant up over top, covering the whole cake and cutting away any excess. Ooh, I have to tell you something else. So when I did the radish, I gathered the excess, right? But then I realized that's kind of how the radish looks at the top, because the tops of all these vegetables are kind of rough because that's where the leaves come out of. So I just made use of that part, and I know that that's where I'll put the leaves. Now I'm going to cover the beet, same method, except I'm rolling out this gorgeous purpley burgundy color, deep, deep color, smoothing it. That's another beautiful thing. You don't have to worry about it being so smooth because beets are not really that smooth. They're kind of rugged.
Yeah.
They're rugged, right?
Hardcore.
Carrot, I'm covering, same method, rolling out the orange fondant, draping it over top, but I can't use my sponge, it's too short, so I used a fresh, brand new, clean towel, flipped my carrot over, smooth the fondant over what is the bottom, cut away the excess, and there you go. I also added a little bit of a point to the carrot. One thing these three vegetables have in common, it's like they all have a little rat tail. They all had, so I wanted to mimic that. This is where you start to really decorate, right? At this point, we've treated all these cakes the same. This is when you're gonna see them come to life and become vegetables. Now I'm going to use a veining tool and a bowl tool to create texture on these vegetables. The fondant's very thin, so it's really easy to make these indents. It's a very light hand, and they shouldn't be perfectly distanced or the same size. That's not at all what a carrot looks like, but just make sure you get the whole surface. For the beet, same idea. I'm going to use my turkey skinator and my veining tool to create some lines and texture because beets are quite rough. Radish is probably the smoothest of the vegetable. The radish is the youngest one. You know, she's fresh. I think the radish has Botox, I have to be honest. So the radish, I did start to add a few lines, but really they're really straight up. Sometimes they crack. Do you notice that about radishes? Sometimes they crack open. Carrots too. Fondant has a very flat finish, and I would not describe vegetables as flat. They're natural. They're from the ground. When they're in the grocery store, they're, you know, showered with water. They need to look alive at this point. You know what I mean? So I'm going to mix a little bit of food coloring with food grade alcohol, such as clear vodka. And I'm gonna use the same colors to paint the outside of the cake as I did to mix the fondant. Sometimes I paint cakes with a thicker paint if I want them to remain really shiny. In this case, it's not about the shine necessarily. I just don't need them to be as flat. Painting your cakes is also a good opportunity to change the tone of the color. If you feel like you didn't get the fondant just right, then you can alter the paint to achieve the color you're looking for.
But you didn't do that, did you?
No, I got it spot on, Orhan. Who do you think I am? So I'm gonna pop these cakes in the fridge, and then I'm gonna work on creating the crate that these vegetables are gonna grow in. So the crate I got at one of my favorite stores, IKEA. You know I love going to IKEA. Oh wait, we have footage of you using the drill.
Oh, yeah.
So we built the crate, and then I had to figure out a way to make sure that the dirt stayed in the crate because there's slots and all of the dirt would fall out. Guess what fit inside perfectly? A cake box. For the dirt, I'm combining a mixture of cocoa and almond flour. Cocoa's a little bit too powdery, so I wanted to mix it with something else. We happen to have some almond flour, so that's what I chose to use. And then I also think if you were serving this cake, it would be kind of tasty. Probably weird to eat spoonfuls of that, but you can certainly eat it. Before I put down dirt, I'm actually gonna put down Rice Krispies. We won't see them, but they'll be underneath to support the cakes. Now I need to dirty up these cakes before I assemble the whole thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint the cakes with a little bit of cocoa because we want to make them look like they were freshly picked. You know what I discovered while making this cake? I've run out of a lot of my paint brushes because over the years they fall apart. If I've used them with metallics, I can't use them on this because the gold and the silver never leave the bristles. So I ended up getting some new like makeup brushes. So these vegetables were getting a makeover, okay? So now all 3 of my cakes have been nicely dirtied with dirt, and we can assemble this cake. And then I have to figure out how to lay the fruits in. Sorry. I'm so biased, I said fruits. Vegetables, 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 vegetables. We are. Obviously, I want this to look like a garden of fresh vegetables, so what I decided to do is use the fresh greens from the real vegetables as the greenery on the cakes. So the same way you've seen me use, you know, like fresh flowers on a cake before, created a little cluster of each one that I then poked into the top of the cake, sticking out of the dirt. 99 problems, but a cake ain't one. How to cake it? Yo's garden. You know what my favorite part of Yo's garden is? There are no bugs in it. No bugs. I didn't get a single mosquito bite in Yo's garden. So this is my kind of gardening. You know, it would have been funny if I had chopped it up and made a salad. It would have just crumbled though, but that would have been good. Okay guys, well this is my Mother's Day gardening cake. I dedicate this to my mom who loves gardening. Tell me, what vegetable should I cake next? I've done a lot of fruits. I think I gotta get on the vegetable train. So leave a comment, let me know, and I will see you next week. Now beat it.